Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked a lot about civil asset forfeiture on this channel. Andy sent me notes. Steve, you see the article in The Hill, thehill.com. Jennifer McDonald and Daryl James wrote an opinion piece that was published on The Hill. High cost of innocence when police seize cash. We've talked before about how civil asset forfeiture allows the police to take stuff from you and just say, we think you're going to use that in a crime, or it's the product of a crime. We don't know. If you want it back, sue us. And I've mentioned before that, well, to sue somebody takes money unless you can get some nonprofit organization to take up your case. And this happens so often that it's impossible for them to take up all the cases. And so sometimes the amount of money they take from you is so small that you couldn't hire an attorney economically to do it. And people say, well, Steve, you sue for your attorney fees. You can't get your attorney fees in America unless there's a statute that says you can get them, generally speaking. It's called the American Rule. So if you owe me $10,000 and it's just a straight agreement that you owe me the money, if I sue you to get it, I got to pay my own attorney fees. So a smart defendant makes the plaintiff run up $10,000 in attorney fees. And sooner or later, the plaintiff will look at it and go, wait, to save money, I should drop my lawsuit. So this is the high cost of innocence when police seize cash. And the example they give is a woman in Miami who fought back and won when federal agents raided her home and seized her life savings. But that victory came at a cost. She did nothing wrong, was never charged. She was not even arrested, but she had to pay thousands of dollars in attorney fees and waste hundreds of hours in lost productivity to prove that her money was, in essence, innocent. All while working 2 jobs and caring for her 2 children. The ordeal started when somebody phoned in a bad tip to the police. And I've mentioned before, anonymous tips, and generally speaking, just tips in general, when someone tips the police off and says, hey, somebody's doing something wrong, and they bust in and they don't find what they're looking for, there should be a little more investigation done before you act on a bad tip. But acting on a bad tip, somebody had said that her estranged husband might have been dealing contraband. In reality, he actually had a job and he owned a company. But the DEA showed up in 2015, searched the home, and found a shoebox containing $15,000 in cash, which they found suspicious that somebody's keeping money in a shoebox in their home. Who'd ever thought of such a thing? To put money in a shoebox and hide it in your house. That's insanity. That's clearly criminal activity. Sarcasm, sorry. That cash also included cash gifts that relatives had given her daughter for celebrating her 15th birthday, and obviously had no connection to crime. The 15th birthday party celebration was not criminal activity. The agents seized the money anyway using civil asset forfeiture, which allows them to take and keep cash, cars, or other valuables without prosecuting anyone and just say, oh, you want it? Sue us. So all the government must do to win is link the assets to any wrongdoing, essentially putting inanimate objects on trial rather than people. The law enforcement maneuver forces property owners into civil court rather than criminal court, where they have no right to counsel and fewer protections against weak allegations, and the burden of proof is on them to prove the money is innocent, not the other way around, which of course is backwards here in America. Despite this, she fought on and recovered her money, but it took her 2 years. By then, her daughter's once-in-a-lifetime birthday celebration was spoiled, because it was 2 years ago, and she was stuck with legal bills that chewed up about 1/3 of the money. Unfortunately, she received no apology or restoration of what rightfully belonged to her. So when she won the case, the judge goes, give them their money back. Okay, here you go. They gave the money back. Other property owners report similar injustices following civil forfeiture, which invites abuse by allowing police and prosecutors in most jurisdictions to keep the proceeds for their own agencies. They are incentivized to take money because they get to keep it and play with it at their agency. Many agencies employ stall tactics in an attempt to outlast people who will fight them. For instance, co-owners of a Connecticut family bakery fought for more than 3 years to recover assets that federal agents took from them. A man who owned a car in Kentucky fought for 2 years to get his pickup truck back, And of course, we talked about Tyson Timms in Indiana, who spent 8 years and trips to the U.S. Supreme Court to get the return of his Land Rover. I believe he went to the U.S. Supreme Court once and the Indiana Supreme Court twice. Institute for Justice, a public interest law firm, has represented all of these property owners and dozens more. Even in best case scenarios, citizens who successfully navigate the bureaucratic maze must endure months or years of deprivation. Think about this. They take your life savings and you have to hire an attorney. How do you hire the attorney with no money? Because your life savings got taken. An Institute for Justice report published this month says, frustrating, corrupt, unfair civil forfeiture in the words of its victims. Quantifies the problem using survey responses from 407 civil forfeiture victims in Philadelphia. Prosecutors continually ask for continuances. They postponed it for another month, and just went on like that for almost 2.5 years, one man said. The survey shows that when property owners beat the civil forfeiture, which happened less than 1/3 of the time, cases stretch for an average of 9 months. On average, it'll take you 9 months to get your money back if you win. Many people simply walked away cutting their losses. The police buried me in paperwork, one respondent said. I was so overwhelmed and my lawyer told me it would cost too much money to get anything resolved anyway. Indeed, giving up was often the only option that made economic sense. Fighting forfeiture successfully almost always requires assistance, and those in Philadelphia who hired attorneys spent an average of $3,500, while the median seizure amount was $600. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. And I get asked this all the time. They say, Steve, if I can't travel with cash, how much money am I safe with? Am I safe with $500, $1,000? No. The average seizure in Philadelphia was $600. That means some were more, some were less. $600. When was the last time you traveled with $600 on you? I will admit I've done that in my adult life. I've had $600 on me at one time. I have. The police have the right to take it. They encountered me? No. Does it violate the Fourth Amendment when they do? Well, depends on who you ask. Supreme Court so far says no. Additional hardships come from missed work, lost transportation, and similar disruptions. It can cost you a lot, one respondent said. It cost me all of my tools, my job, and a lot of heartache. Missed investment opportunities also occur. Many cases involve small business owners who lost cash intended for equipment purchases that could have generated potentially tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. Wisconsin musician lost the money he had saved to buy a recording studio. And we've mentioned before about the guy who was traveling to buy a tow truck and other people who are traveling with cash to go buy some big piece of equipment. It happens all the time. So like the woman at the top who lost $15,000, the guy who wanted to buy the recording studio eventually got his property back, but he was lucky. Even winners are losers with civil forfeiture, which punishes the innocent along with the guilty. So this is an opinion piece more so than just straight up reporting, but it's a good overview of how it can affect you. And we've talked before about the fact that if you want your money back, you have to sue them. Got to go hire an attorney, which comes out of your own money. So there is a calculus that you must do. And I've gone over this before with clients of mine on simple contract cases. I've had someone come into my office and say, Steve, somebody owes me $2,000. $2,000. I want to hire you. I want to sue them. I say, okay. There's no way for you to recover your attorney fees from them. You got to pay me out of your own pocket. They go, okay. I go, so the most you can get is $2,000, right? How much you pay me comes off the top, and suddenly you can only get this much. Or this. Now you say, Steve, what about a contingency? Contingency means I take a portion. Up front, you know you're going to lose a third, plus costs. So I often tell people, if you feel like it, I take them to small claims court, which you can often do this without an attorney. But the problem is that when they take $10,000 from you, or $50,000 from you, or $600 from you, the question is it worth doing? I know people say, Steve, I do it on principle. I would do it on principle. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. But I can tell you that as an attorney, I've had people tell me they want to hire me on principle. They go, Steve, I want to pay you to chase this person. And I'm entitled to what I think they owe me. And I believe them. I say, I believe you. But it is very difficult to go into a case where my job is to better your position. Okay, my job is to put you in a better position than where you are now. That's my job. If I couldn't do that, what am I spinning my wheels for? I'm trying to put you in a better position than when you came into my office. And so if you want to hire me to chase somebody and make them pay money, which at best is going to offset the cost of hiring me, I'm not bettering your position other than I might make you feel good to know that somebody had to pay money. But what is it really accomplishing? What is it accomplishing? So they know that they've got you by the short hairs, as they say, when they take your life savings from you. I mean, after all, why'd you put it in a shoebox in your closet? That's obvious criminal activity. So there's several ways that they could fix this. Okay, and I've mentioned before, they should simply abolish it. They should just simply say the only forfeitures must happen in a criminal setting. That is, you catch somebody breaking the law, they get convicted, and it turns out that the proceeds of their crime are sitting right there, and those got confiscated at the time of the arrest. You would then ask the court or the jury or whoever it was that decided guilt to decide what happens to the proceeds of that crime. That you tie it up in one action. That would make sense to me. Okay? The other thing they could do is award attorney fees and costs to a prevailing party in this case. So if the person had their money seized wrongfully and they're forced to sue to get it back and they win, their attorney fees and costs should get paid by the people who seized the money. Now, the problem with that is that you and I both know who pays that. When the government screws up and has to pay the attorney fees and costs of the prevailing party because it's tax dollars. So when they seize $15,000 from the woman and it's wrongful, they might not care. And so forcing them to pay the attorney fees and court costs might not actually encourage them to settle the case faster. However, it would make it to where more attorneys could take these cases because many of these cases are righteous cases, they're valid cases, they're good cases, but they're not economically feasible to chase. Okay? So to pay me $5,000 to chase them for $5,000 is a non-starter, as we say. So the idea that the average attorney charged $3,500, but the average seizure was $600, and I realize there's no correlation between the two. I'm simply pointing out that there's a lot of cases out there, that do not make any sense to pursue because $600 ain't worth paying $3,500 to recover. Okay? So, like I said, it should be purely criminal and take place as part of the criminal trial or allow the recovery of attorney fees and court costs. But until they do one of those two things, we're going to keep having this because they're incentivized to steal from you. And it's crazy. And this is one of those things, I still have people who say, Steve, this isn't true, it doesn't happen, there must be something wrong with this. Some people don't believe something until it happens to them. And so this is one of those things that we should all look at and go, I don't want to wait till it happens to me. I want it to stop. I want it to stop before it happens to me. So there you go. From thehill.com, Jennifer McDonald and Daryl James wrote it. The high cost of innocence when police seize cash. Andy sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Kilometers are shorter than miles. Save gas. Take your next trip in kilometers.